All right, welcome to another edition of Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 210, where we're going to talk about our wonderful Christmas memory. Now, we'll talk about Anglican news. No need for Christmas memories here. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and today's December 21st, 2015.
All right, welcome to another edition of Anglican Unscripted. It's kind of the Christmas edition. And Christmas is new because this year we call mom and dad and say, what do you want us to order you for Amazon for Christmas? And mom says, well, dad needs a new walker. Cool. Well, it's a little thing on stilts, got little handles on the top, and I'll log on and I'll order it and send it to us. So he wants a special type, and I'm looking it up. And I don't know if you've paid attention, but when we were kids, walkers were little things on four little legs. They had tennis balls in the bottom. You put it in front of you, you walk into it. You put it in front of you, you walk into it. The new ones have wheels on the front, still have the tennis balls on the back, but they have handbrakes. They have baskets on the bottom. They have a platform, and then they have this little bar. And so if dad gets tired, he can turn all the way around, sit on the platform, and the bar works as a backrest. That's the new walker we're buying from mom and dad. I said, Mom, why do you want dad to have this new walker? I can't imagine the utility. He says, no, he needs it because I need him to get the groceries out of the car and take the groceries up to the condo. And this way he can put everything in his basket and push it on up. I said, well, that's giving me like 35, 40 pounds of groceries. That's his workout.
Uh, Kevin, you're such a tech guru. I thought you'd get your dad one of these Segway with things. Like you see the mall security guard, drive around on this little platform with two wheels. Why don't you get him one of those?
Grandpa mall cart security guard? No. We he's 78. We can't trust him to operate the garage door remote control. We don't let dad around technology. The most common thing I do when I visit them is make sure that he only has to press one button to get the TV, the stereo, and the cable on. Because he's not real technical. Somehow I got different genes somewhere along the way that did not come from my dad's side of the family, who was a farmer when he grew up. So, we're not letting him use any buttons, George. Is it this weekend your dad's 80th birthday?
Yes, he and my mother went to Olive Garden for lunch to celebrate his 80th birthday.
Yeah.
And it's really a good time for us after a very difficult 6 months of health issues for both of them. Several near death experiences where the doctor told us on more than one occasion that, this is it, this is the final hospitalization. They're both home, they're both doing fine, they're both in good spirits, and they're both incredibly exhausting for me and my wife.
Yes.
But that's a good place to be in. God is very good to us. The prayers that have been lifted up have been answered, and they are doing just fine.
Well,
Relatively speaking, they're
yeah,
not
of
out
course.
water skiing. They're
No.
going to Olive Garden, which is a difference.
Well, the family's all home here for Christmas. This will be our first Christmas in the condo. Victoria just got in from Pittsburgh and brought the boyfriend, that type of thing. How's your girls?
Well, they are wonderful children.
I don't think they watch the show. You don't have to be that honest.
Oh, we got a call from one of the girls that said, "Daddy, I know what I want for Christmas." I was thinking an Apple Watch or a dress. Oh, I want you to pay the speeding ticket. I said, "What speeding ticket?" Well, I was doing 86 and I got stopped and it's $300 and I need to pay it for tomorrow or I lose my license. So we got one daughter got four wisdom teeth out on Thursday, and that was almost $3,000, close to it. Another had a $300 speeding ticket paid for on Thursday. So,
That conger lead foot that continues on.
well, you buy girls Mercedes sports cars, and this is what happens. It's my own fault.
No, well, we need to clarify. George doesn't buy anybody new Mercedes. He gets the old 1979 and he rebuilds them.
I should put a governor though on the speed or something.
Yes.
Just making them hot rods is not well. Well,
Well, you
they're
should have a
just like me.
Prius.
They're just like, well, if they had a Prius, they wouldn't be able to break 35 in
No.
a stiff wind.
All right, so let's get on with the show. George and I always sit down and talk about what we're going to talk about. It's called a pre-show, and a lot of people who paid attention to the news know that all hell is breaking. I can use hell. It's a spiritual show. Is breaking loose in the Episcopal Church in Maryland. They found a secret microphone taped to the bottom of a chair at an executive council meeting. Presiding Bishop Curry has suspended three of his leaders of the church, and he's hired a law firm to investigate. Da 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 da.
And I heard there was an 18-minute gap that the secretary, Rosemary Wood, can't explain.
Yeah, 18 minutes are missing. Who knew? So, big controversy. But I'm like, yeah, we could talk about that. Let me get Alan on that. We need to talk about the upcoming primates meeting because we don't want people to think the wrong thing about this primates gathering happening in Canterbury. We've had for the longest time, I guess almost a dozen years, next meeting itis. Before the ACNA was formed, before GAFCON existed, there was this anxiety within the Anglican Church that at the next meeting, the primates or the Archbishop of Canterbury will solve the problem of the communion. Now, the problem was always on many different fronts. We had the consecration of Gene Robinson. We had depositions going over here against conservatives. We had the Frank Griswold. We had Benison. We had so many different issues that we wanted leaders of the church to take authority over and hold people accountable, which never happened. And I don't want people to think that this new primates gathering is another meeting itis.
Kevin, this is the most important meeting until the second coming of Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
ratings.
Folks,
Yes, yes, yes.
unless you watch every minute of every broadcast that we do from Canterbury, unless you send us your money to make sure we're there and able to do our job, you will not be saved. Your salvation rests upon our attending this meeting. Now, that's what we'd like you to think, but that's not the truth.
No. Well, for ratings, yes. We do want to raise the ratings. You need to watch every episode, every moment, every second. But to be quite frank, this is not a Dar es Salaam. This is not a Alexandria. This is not somewhere in Ireland. What was it called? Dramantine.
Dublin. Dromantine.
Dramantine. It's not. It's no longer do we have next meetingitis. Because we have a GAFCON, which solved a lot of the issues. We have an ACNA, which was a response to the horrid leadership of Catherine Jefferson Schori. So problems, when there was a leadership vacuum, leaders stood up and filled that vacuum. Now, I think the new primates gathering is a lot more what role is the See of Canterbury going to have in the future of Anglicanism than it is the role between GAFCON and the Episcopal Church.
You've hit on the key point that I think that people need to take into their understanding of this meeting. This meeting is important, but it's not urgent. If this meeting did not take place in January, would things be any different? No. Acton would carry on, GAFCON would carry on, the Episcopal Church would carry on, the Church of England would carry on. The meeting is not urgent. Things are broken, things are dysfunctional, things are not working, but this meeting is not going to change that. What is going to be addressed at this meeting is not the relationships between the parties. People seem to want to think that this is going to be the make or break meeting that decides the future of the communion. Well, that's great to sell newspapers and to get you to contribute. The reality is the important function of this meeting is the place in the office of the Archbishop of Canterbury. Is he going to regain the authority lost over the past 10 years? And only then will change happen on an international level. Right now, it doesn't matter what he says or does. He has no authority, either juridical, legal authority, or actually emotional or moral or political authority.
Well, I think even the liberals have taken authority away from him. As far as the GAFCON in the Global South, They no longer see the See of Canterbury as a leadership function of the Anglican Communion. And you and I have discussed this before. There's four instruments of unity. Obviously, the See of Canterbury, the Primates Meeting, Lambeth Conferences, and the ACC, which was kind of a made up uh, instruments of unity. There was never an official vote on this. How did that occur? But it was VTS, right?
There was a meeting at Virginia Theological Seminary in 1997 that put together these four proposed instruments of communion. It was brought to the 98th Lambeth Conference, but they never got around to vote on it. So they're just ideals that actually were never even adopted by any one body that has authority. And that world is over. And the we really need to understand that we're talking now about power politics.
Mm-hmm.
Your salvation is not going to be affected by what happens in January. Jesus Christ, the gospel, they are unchanging. They are going to remain the same always. What is taking place is how the players are lining up and what new political calculus is forming. Is the Archbishop of Canterbury going to continue to play a neutered role, the role adopted by Rowan Williams, and which Justin Welby inherited and has not been able to break out of, or is he going to try to return to the days of George Carey, where George Carey was able, through forced persuasion and moral authority, to get people to do things? That's what's at stake at this meeting, is the authority of Justin Welby. And the shame of it is Justin Welby doesn't seem to realize it.
Well, I think we just told him. But we live in that reality now that, it's no longer next meeting-itis. There is very few solutions that can come out of this meeting. Our hope, obviously, is that they follow up on the Dar es Salaam communique and find out to what degree the Episcopal Church and the Anglican Communion has been held accountable. And that number two is discussing leadership and the new roles of governing the Anglican Communion. But if I'm not mistaken, I read an interview with Fred Hiltz, who went in there and says, well, we don't need no black Africans telling us how to do this. He actually had a meeting with Justin Welby.
Well, Fred Hiltz goes and meets with the Archbishop of Canterbury, whoever it is, every year. Mm-hmm. And Hiltz put out a piece that was carried in the Anglican Journal, which is that church's national newspaper, where he's basically trying to set the expectations for the meeting. And Hiltz is basically trying to deflect and to divert attention and saying, all is well, folks, nobody needs to worry, and we're going to talk about global warming and refugees and the Paris meeting, and we may even discuss ACNA and the Episcopal Church. We might even get that far. Well, the reality of the situation is that the Anglican Church of Canada was once a player in world Anglican affairs. But it is falling so quickly, its membership is being depleted so rapidly, its cash reserves are going out the door so quickly, that it has no clout or influence other than what people wish to grant it. Mm-hmm. And we're in a world today where it matters not what Fred Hiltz says. Nobody of any consequence cares what Fred Hiltz has to say. Now, Michael Curry, the new man on the block, that's totally different. We're in a stage where he comes out with assumptions about what he's going to say, and we have assumptions about how he's going to respond. But Michael Curry, if he's able to come, he had this stroke, and he may not be able to come for reasons of health. But Michael Curry is one of the wild cards. He may be able to repair the broken relationships. We don't know if that's possible, but he is only able to do it. Fred Hiltz got no clout whatsoever.
Well, in that light, Iliad Wabakula put out a letter this week that said it's not going to be the same. That we have different assumptions going into this. What was the assumptions GAFCON has going into the meeting?
Well, he put out a letter last week where basically he said that the See of Canterbury should not be the focal point of the Anglican Communion. The doctrine and discipline of the Book of Common Prayer and the 39 Articles should be. Mm-hmm. In essence, he's putting forward the theological rationale of the Jerusalem Declaration from the first GAFCON provincial meeting. Now, that was in 2008. And even before that, the Church of Nigeria said that we do not look at Canterbury as the focal point of our unity. We look at the doctrine and discipline of Anglicanism as found in the formularies, prayer book, articles, and so on. So Wabakula is saying something that's at least 7 or 8 years old right now and saying, look, you, Justin Welby, need to get off the fact that by virtue of your having been appointed by the Prime Minister of England, you have no clout spiritually unless you conform to these spiritual underpinnings.
And that's the point. If he did start to conform and did start to hold some of the broken church accountable, that would repair the See of Canterbury's role in the communion.
If he held the Church of England accountable, that would go an immense way in making him not seem, I don't want to call him a fool, a knave.
We don't do that in this program.
No, I mean, I'll give you an example. We have a little contretemps going on in England about a priest of the Church of England who was in a same-sex civil union. He changed it over to a marriage, and when he'd applied for a license in the Diocese of Winchester, the Bishop of Winchester said, no, I'm not going to give you a license because you're in a gay marriage. The guy still has a license in the Diocese of Salisbury. Salisbury and Winchester are both in the province of Canterbury. Why is Justin Welby tolerating a situation where it's okay for a priest to be in a gay marriage in Salisbury, but not in Winchester? Now, if he jumped, he needs to jump one way or the other.
Yes.
And instead, he's just jumping up in the air, hoping he doesn't come down till some other issues in the way. In other words, Welby has not exercised leadership. Leadership is different from force. Welby has been a very forceful person in ramming through, in an administrative and bureaucratic way, things that he wants done. That's different from leadership, which is moving the ideals and the thinking and the wisdom of the community over which he has oversight. He's not been able to do that. He's been able to force change, but he's not been able to engender change. And until he's reached that point, he's a fig leaf, if you will.
It's true. I mean, if the meeting starts off with, can't we all just get along, it's going to go south real quick. If it starts off with, let us pray and repent, there's hope. George, let's raise a little bit more money. We've got 17 minutes down here. George and I have raised about 60% of what we need to get there. I got a couple of really big checks from some very gracious people. One, a bishop who has no money, has given us money. So that should be a good indication that other people who have no money should, if you can, give us money. We also had a very wealthy person give to us this week, and I want to thank him as well. So we're still looking to raise about another $1,500 to help pay for the trip. Please, I don't want to get stuck in England. It's not a nice place anymore. It's all weird. That's that. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and you've been watching episode 210 of Anglican Unscripted.